Alright, so Axis Mundi is this red line. That is the 72.66 degrees magnetic north to south. It happens to run back behind my house here in Vermont, and that is basically the location. The red line is slightly off, the magnetic piece of it. The markers are a little bit more accurate. However, that line also runs through Machu Picchu, and again, it's a little bit off because the line itself is arcing a really long distance. Actually, let's just check that out. Oops. It is arcing 12,235 miles. So basically what I did was I plotted the Galapagos and Easter Island Nazca lines right there. And essentially these are all just roughed in, but you know, I could kind of already start to see where some of these locations would likely line up. But I'm not there today. So today I just wanted to try to plot some rough ideas in the sort of hermetic truth of as above, so below, playing with the idea of Machu Picchu equating, ironically, just to, you know, what was an ancient location for an observatory just north of Long Island and Connecticut and Massachusetts, and all the way north-south along Vermont through a town where all three of my kids were born. And yeah, that line pretty much runs here. It's a little bit off because of the Google Earth mapping piece, but basically that line, if you get even close, is right there, 72.66 west, 72.66 degrees west of longitude is this line here. This is our location, and I have in essence plotted, could be a little bit tighter, but 1,400 feet from the south part of my property to the north part of my property, a serpent effigy that follows the trajectory of effectively the summer sunrise at solstice, forming a parabola to the winter sunrise at solstice to this location. And it's all represented in stoneworks that are, you know, fairly massive, 17-acre, 1,400 foot long way of proving this, if you will. And it has all the rock features that kind of look out at the various, you know, points as one has seen, or I've seen in you know, Hopewell, Ohio, and other locations, mounds like Poverty Point, Chaco Canyon. As far as orientations, not so much Chaco Canyon for the mound effigy component. That's more for the astral observatory and cartography piece. But basically, there's a spiral, kind of a tail piece here. I don't know if you want to say legs that point out to the various components in a front sort of facing orientation. I haven't seen an animal in it yet, but I'm looking. So all of the pieces match up to what we would see. It's identical to all these other earth mounds across the country. So I went ahead and I plotted those on the map. And as you can see, when you draw lines to them from here, they all kind of intersect. And so the white lines represent coming from here out across the country to not only these earth mound sites up in here across the east, which it's all earth because this is where the Axis precession is blasting out an old ancient 1.8 billion-year-old volcano and pushing all of that material into here, as well as washing out from up in here for sure. But with all of that, you're going to have mounds of earth, and you're not going to have a lot of rock material to work with. However, down in Mexico, I ended up just plotting the various pyramids, and you know, those are the things that seem to be lining up for some on the cross that way, as well as petroglyphs and southwestern Chaco Canyon and Mesa Verde and Cliff Dwellers locations. So wherever those locations were, there's almost an even tighter 1 degree to 5 degree type of a line coming down to Machu Picchu. So when you look at that cartography, the orientation of all of these components, the high precision of use of astronomy, I would think when this gets all cleaned up and becomes much more accurate, we're going to see how it relates to not just LiDAR and how it pertains to finding all of these things that maybe a line points to that we don't see something now, but then find out, oh yeah, that once had a thing there. But also things like, what we find in Antarctica is going to relate to this storyline, I think much more significantly than, right now it's just this anomaly of, oh, Antarctica and, all these conspiracies. But I think when we start thinking about it, it's not so much a conspiracy, but just the fact that people are discovering these pieces that go back beyond their education or what they've been trained or taught that the world looks like. And I think this is a reality that when we look at this, we're going to see, there's a lot more going on. So like this line here is to the Eye of the Reichardt in the Sahara. This is to the Rock of Gibraltar. So it's basically like little things. This one here is the Meroe pyramids. This one is Giza pyramids. So all of those lines have, not necessarily that this was a map or anything, but that's where it's going to. So it has some form of measurement potential, and if it lines up, how cool would that be? I don't know if it will. I'm not trying to say it does. I'm saying that I think it does for here without a question. I can see something developing there just as a statistician for 20 years. There's, once these all get corrected into their positions and alignments, there's going to be much more there's going to be regularity to it. I've done this stuff up in Canada, lots of petroglyphs that this all lines up with as well. And then, yeah, it's all going to just be a matter of, I think we're just finding all kinds of stuff here now via LiDAR and developments of former civilizations. So it's all unfolding. I think we're going to find this story is a much bigger thing than a lot of people ever wanted to really just allow to be connected, because of the way we fight wars and economics of corporate greed at these points, whether it's, the old colonial guard, the new colonial guard, or, whatever you want to call it. It's we live in a world where people don't care about those that aren't like them. And unfortunately, I'm seeing way too much of that. And I think when we start to recognize just how all interconnected we were, that is the fundamental truth. And I think that those that were working on this had a much bigger objective, which was keeping us all safe from catastrophes. And, how this world works is a very mysterious thing, but it also can be broken down, and we can figure it all out to understand if we dump too much water in one area versus the other from melting glaciers, we could offset massively. But it doesn't start from being afraid to speak our truths because we might offend somebody who has a different interpretation on how this all goes together. And that's okay. I just look at data science. I look at what I have faith in personally with respect to what I can plot, what I can see, what I know is real. And when I see enough of it and can prove it statistically, that's where that's my comfort zone, and that's my wheelhouse. So with that, as above, so below. Peace.